Thanks for stopping by this week on Simpleton, Foo Fighters' brand new album, Medicine at Midnight. Let's go. Welcome back to the simpletonreview.com. Thank you so it's not the simpletonreview.com. This is our YouTube channel, the Simpleton Review. We're glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we're going to be talking about the Foo Fighters' latest effort, Medicine at Midnight. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, what, have you been living under a rock for the past 25 years? The Foo Fighters is an American rock band formed in Seattle, Washington in the wake of demise of Nirvana after Kurt Cobain's death. So they were formed in Seattle, Washington in 1994. Dave Grohl, of course, is the drummer from Nirvana. I argue that he is probably maybe the most talented member of Nirvana, and he's been proving that in the past 25 years. So yeah, it was a one-man project following the dissolution of Nirvana after the suicide of Kurt Cobain. The group took its name from Foo Fighter, a nickname coined by Allied aircraft pilots for UFOs and other aerial phenomena. There you go. Over the course of the career, Foo Fighters have won 12 Grammy Awards, including Best Rock Album. The band's also won an American Music Award, Brit Awards, and of course, MTV Music Video Awards. Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters is an amazing rock band, in my opinion. They are one of the few 90s rock bands that are still existent and it's still relevant, for that matter. I mean, there's a few 90s rock bands floating around, but the Foo Fighters are still relevant. Who wants to go first? Who would like to tell us what they thought of the new Foo Fighters album?
Okay, I didn't really like the album. It was kind of slow for me. When I hear the name Foo Fighters, I kind of hear like Pretender and stuff, so I expect it to be a little more exciting. But the first few songs didn't really hold my attention. You have Shame, Shame that plays on the radio now. Honestly, I don't really like that song all that much. Like, it's kind of cool at first. Like, I think it's cool. But it just feels like, to me, it feels similar to a dubstep song where you get through the first half and then the second half is exactly the same. And I just get really bored. So I felt like Son of Mine is the song that stood out the most. It ended up being the most fun, the most upbeat in my opinion. I pictured like a train a lot of the time, just kind of chugging along, like actually moving. It felt good. And then the next song was really nice, Poison, I think it was. And they had like a really cool time key or time/key signature like halfway through the song that was really fun. And then after that, they had Chasing Birds, and that killed the momentum for me again. It's just like, okay, cool. So it was all right, I guess, but I didn't really like it.
You didn't really like it?
Nah, not really.
All right. Charlie, what about you?
I thought it was an okay effort. I thought it was pretty interesting that they've tried some different stuff to like change their sound. The opening bit with the gospel like backup singers didn't do it for me. Jack White did the same thing, and that is like, I was like, I'm sorry guys, this is not a rock album now. So like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I agree with. I did like the top 40 track, the Shame Shame, even though it does have the repetition in it. It is a rockin' track. I mean, it is definitely a Foo Fighter sound. And then you mentioned No Son of Mine. That is also another pinnacle track for the album. And the one right after it, Holding Poison. And that whole sound change, I'm wondering if he had Josh Homme step in from the Queens of the Stone Age. Because it has very much his like guitar playing like emphasis on there. Mm-hmm. The kind of dragging, like it's got a real deep sound guitar versus like some their high-pitched strikes. Mm-hmm. It carries down and more melodic. And and if you've heard, I mean, Dave Grohl has done a lot of stuff with Josh Homme. And so you'd recognize if you heard Queens of the Stone Age. Because Dave Grohl like played drums on one of their albums and got him in the limelight.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, overall, I liked the album. It actually took me a couple of listens to actually really start to like it, though. The first time through, I'm like, I don't know. When you listen to a Foo Fighters album, you expect there to be like this build in each one of their songs, like, right? So it gets big and it just the chorus, and then the chorus is so loud and Dave Grohl's almost screaming the lyrics, right? And then it comes back down. It just doesn't get, and I mean, some people call Dave Grohl Dave Growl because of kind of a thing. Almost none of these songs had that approach to it. They were a lot more reserved type of songs when it came down to it. Making a Fire was very poppy, had a very 70s sound to it,
Yeah, I was
almost
thinking a
disco-ish.
lot of those had a 70s sound
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. So,
It was
and
a very retro album.
it was, and I wonder sometimes too, is if Grohl maybe thinks, okay, here I am, I'm 50 some odd years old, I've got to figure out ways to maybe calm down just a little bit. Otherwise, I'm
I'm
not
not
going to be
so
able to.
mad. What's the matter with
Right.
that guy?
I'm not going to keep my concerts up to par if I'm having to, the whole time, because I'm starting to get old. Let's face it. Shame. The first time I heard that song was back in, I think it was the fall. They were on Saturday Night Live and they performed that song, and I don't get it. I don't get the song. It never, like, you always expect it. You listen to the song, you're like, okay. Here it comes. It's gonna go. It never goes. It's just like, when's it gonna take off? And it doesn't. You're just waiting, and then it stops. You're like, well, that was a letdown. I mean, the groove is cool, but you wait for that drop. You want the drop, and there's no drop. I'm like, where is it at? So that kind of bugged me. Cloud Spotter. That's like the epitome of a 90s alternative song right there.
That's a Foo Fighters sound right there.
Oh yeah. That's the first track on the album that really picks up the tempo and actually starts rocking. Waiting on a War, that's about as Foo Fighters as it gets on that one, man. Very Foo Fighters-ish. Medicine at Midnight, I kind of liked it. There's definitely a David Bowie influence on that song. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's very funk driven. It's got a 70s-ish David Bowie, and you could almost hear David Bowie singing on that song, and it would have sounded perfect in my mind. No Son of Mine, Motorhead, dude. That guitar riff is Motorhead to the core. I was like, wow.
Consider that way they went together. Him and Lemmy got together for that Probot album.
Yeah, you were waiting for Lemmy to rise from the grave and start singing that song. That's what was going to start happening, I swear. And Chasing Birds, like you guys said, it's a sappy ballad. Very 1970s. I thought I was going to start listening to Kansas or something when they started singing that song. I was like, yeah, that song does not do it for me as well. But I mean, here you got 9 songs. It clocks in at just over 36 minutes. So it's a very short album.
Quick.
Yeah. Tight pop songs. This is what I said about it. Tight pop songs, take them back to their 90s roots. It's really actually new territory in some ways, but how much change do you really want from a band that's been around for more than 25 years? It's one of the few remaining relevant 90s rock bands. Why break what's not right?
Yeah.
Your lane. Why verve from it? Yeah, it doesn't rock as hard as some of the other
Well, that's the thing
Foo
is,
Fighters
you
albums,
listen to their first album, their very first album.
Yeah.
And it had just as much variety as this one.
Yeah.
They were just as spread out then and being experimental from the start. So really, this is still a strong Foo Fighters album. It's not got a lockdown bass to it.
Right.
And that is one thing that Dave Grohl is known for, is being out there to try everything and to be everything. So, yeah, I mean, I do have to give him commendation for that, because not everybody's brave enough to do it.
Right. That's true. What's the one that was like the one that really kind of defined them? Was that the color? Yeah, the Color and Shape. Color and the Shape. That was the album that really kind of defined who Foo Fighters was, right? That one had Hero.
Had Everlong and Hero. And...
Yeah, Everlong, and There Goes My Hero on it. So that was the one that really kind of made them who they were as a rock band. And it actually, like you said, it kind of goes back to those first couple of albums of theirs, and it really... I felt like he kind of really sat down and said, okay, I want to actually think about the music I'm writing instead of just G, D, C. You know what I'm saying? Well, I heard, and I think same goes for his guitar playing, but I heard Dave Grohl, he was on a podcast I listened to, Mark Maron, WTF podcast years ago. And he made the comment on there. He says, look, I'm not a good drummer. He said, this is the drummer for Nirvana. He says, I'm not a good drummer. He says, I have one volume and that's 20 when I play the drums. He says, I play hard and loud. He says, I'm not a good drummer. And I think he does that with almost everything he does. He plays hard and loud.
Well, that's only partially true. Now, I saw this video clip recently, and he's playing drums, Trent Reznor's playing keys, and Josh Homme is playing guitar. And this is a more of a soundtrack kind of piece, and you need to check it out, because the thing is it builds up and everything, and it plays like a soundtrack piece. but Dave Grohl has such perfect timing, and he does play loud at parts, but his timing is so impeccable. I mean, he just knows how to work a song around a time frame. And like, this is when you build, this is when you do it, this is when you strike hard, this is when you strike fast. He may not be a perfect drummer, as he says, but oh my gosh. The guy's amazing. Period.
Yeah, you know, Dave Grohl, he's a good musician, as the fact that, again, they've been relevant for 25 years. They're, like I said, and I'll say it again, they are one of the only 90s rock bands that still actually matter to these days. And they are phenomenal. Even with this album being maybe as weak as it is, it's still good. You know, it's still better than 60-70% of all the crap out there, if you ask me. As far as rock and roll goes, I mean, you know, it's such a rock and roll is hurting badly these days. Let's just face it. But yeah, he's a nice guy. You never see anything bad about Dave Grohl. The dude is just a nice guy, and I love that and respect that when he loves his fans, and you know it. He loves all the kids that listen to his music. He just seems like an all around down to earth good guy. Especially
when Bill and Ted wreck your house.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot he was in that movie. That's funny. Yeah. So anyways, well, let's go ahead and give our scores. Charlie, why don't you go ahead and go first?
I am going to give this album, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it higher. Because I know it was like, it was a trial, and I was thinking of giving it a lower score. I totally want to stand behind like where they're going, and I think that everybody's got to give it a spin, because just to see like the momentous movement of these guys and how it's changed and gonna keep changing.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. That's good. Lemuel, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. It's not a bad album by any means. Like, it's fun to listen to, but it didn't do it for me, a lot of it. So, but I don't have anything else to expand upon with that.
All right, that's fair enough. Well, I'm going to go with Charlie, and I'm going to give it a solid 3. It's good. It's solid. It's not something that's going to, in my mind, that's going to be looked back and people are going to say, yeah, that's one of Foo Fighters' better albums. But it is worth a listen, and as far as rock and roll music goes, it's still setting a standard, which I can appreciate. So a 3 for me, a 3 for Charlie, and a 2 for the millennial. Get over there. I don't, whatever. If you don't think I don't think it's worth a 2. I actually think it's better, but your score.
You know, it's like if I weren't already like familiar with the Foo Fighters, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Because as an album by itself, it wasn't their strongest. I mean,
right.
And I've been hard on bands I like lately, and so I feel like I'm being pretty kind of generous.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good, and I think it's worth a 3. So good. Unfortunately, it does not get the Simpleton Certified rating, but it is, again, we don't ever want to discourage you guys. Yeah,
gotta give it a
discourage you guys.
You will find at least one track you'll love.
That's true.
Exactly. Or listening to these albums. So please go check it out and decide for yourself, and then come back and write in the comments whether or not you like the album and whether or not
tell us we're wrong. We're wrong.
I want you to tell us we were full of hot air. I mean, Charlie and I already know we are full of hot air, but I want you to tell us. Okay, please do. All right, let's move into the segment we like to call Pop Culture News. Charlie, I'm going to let you start.
Hey, so I was reading online. I like to check out tech gadgety things, and I didn't find any new gadgets that were like floating my boat, but I did find that Amazon Kids they've added a new browser setting to give kids more ability to search on the internet. You know, a lot of people wonder if this is going to be a Pandora's box situation. I think that parents need to be like really involved with this, but at the same time, I'm glad that Amazon is like taking a step forward to like say, yes, there should be an internet for kids because we don't run into encyclopedias like we used to. Information is so easily grabbed off the internet, and I think the scope of learning would be awesome, as well as like I noticed at the beginning of the pandemic, we had ways to view art and ways that the culture is changing because of the internet, and that we can't gather, the internet is going to be huge on that. And if kids aren't going to be able to experience the world, where are they going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think parents need to look at what Amazon's doing and see if there's a good meet in the middle.
Meet in the middle. I like that. Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, it'd be nice to have those filters on there so you don't have to, I guess, worry as much about what your kids are able to surf for. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of filters they have on it, what kind of stuff they might block. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the old browser setting was called Free Time.
Mm-hmm. And this is Amazon that's doing this?
This is Amazon through the Fire tablets.
Oh, okay. Oh,
and
right.
So the new setting, it says kids can explore on their own,
mm-hmm.
but their internet access is still filtered with built-in controls that block mature content and social media sites. And it only works in the kids' browser. And this is set up to just work within the kids' browser.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives you a chance to look at the browsing history and everything, so that way you can either choose to keep going or turn off the browsing altogether. So it's pretty cool that the Amazon stepped forward, and I hope parents keep an eye on that and understand that kids need to see what's going on around them.
Absolutely.
During this lockdown time. So
absolutely. Well, great. Thank you for that. The next piece of news here at the Simpleton Review is from Netflix. Netflix is pairing up with the renowned Japanese anime studio production IG for an animated TV series set in the Terminator universe. By the way, if you guys don't know who this Japanese anime studio is, they make Ghost in the Shell. Is their claim to fame. The company's billing the project as a team-up between Matt Tomlin, the writer of the Netflix superhero film Project Power. I haven't seen that. And the studio best known for producing TV adaptations of legendary manga Ghost in the Shell, though little else is known about the show, or when the complex Terminator timeline it may take place in. I want to see more stuff about either the future, as far as Terminator is concerned, or what happens between now and the future. You know what I mean? Now and when the Terminators come back. That whole segment. I want to know all of that stuff.
I think
when Skynet becomes the powerhouse that it really is. When Skynet does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it isn't the first time Netflix has worked with the production IG beyond its Ghost in the Shell work. The studio is known as the animator for the Psycho Pass series.
Ooh.
Again, another...
Psycho Pass is crazy.
It has a lot of animes on there that I have no idea about. Psycho Pass is crazy, you say?
Yeah, that's a weird show.
Is it? And the wildly popular sports anime High Q. But with Netflix, Production IG produced an original series called B, The Beginning, which debuted in 2018 with a long-awaited second season arriving in Netflix within the month. But Terminator is one of the most iconic, it says, sci-fi stories ever created and has only grown more relevant to our world over time. True. John Durdurian, Netflix's vice president of Japan and anime, said the new animated series will explore the universe in a way that has never been done before. We can't wait for fans to experience this amazing new chapter in the epic battle between machines and humans. In addition to Production IG, Netflix has reportedly brought in Skydance Media to the production company behind the last two Terminator films. So it could be an interesting show to check out when it finally debuts. I might watch that one. Actually, I've heard the new, and this has nothing to do with this, although it is kind of anime based, but the animated Transformers series that's on Netflix, it sounds pretty good. I haven't checked it out, but I need to check it out because it looks really good. The animation on there is high quality. So I might
That sounds cool.
So. Yeah. There's the problem with Netflix is that it's like this, I was going to call it a vast wasteland. It's not, it's not really a wasteland. It's just so vast that there are so many things that just get right past your purview if you're not paying attention. So you got to dive in sometimes and really kind of check out some of those deep cuts, because if you don't like a certain style, it doesn't show up on your feed. It doesn't show up on your recommends, right? And so I don't see a lot of this stuff because I haven't watched a lot of animated stuff on Netflix. I should maybe start catching some of that. Like BoJack Horseman, I hear is really good too. All right, Lemuel, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your pop culture news?
Okay, my pop culture news is about Lady Gaga, which we actually talked about her last month at some point. I think we talked about her Oreos.
You didn't find the magic Oreos or whatever it was that got you the free signature, did you?
No. Somebody got shot for her instead.
That's devotion.
Yeah. Ryan Fisher was walking her dogs, and somebody came up, shot him twice. I think in the chest. Just took the.
And he
dog.
survived, though, right?
Yeah, he survived. He's
Wow,
in
that's
stable
incredible.
condition. Last I heard, he's breathing on his own.
Good.
So he's on the road to recovery. Lady Gaga offered a $500,000 reward for those 2 dogs back. And then some lady dropped them off at the LA Olympic Community Police Center. No word as to whether or not the lady's been given the reward or if she's really involved. The police say it looks like she isn't in any way.
I'm sure they want to try to vet her first before they give her the money to make sure she isn't involved in that. I heard she found him tied to a light pole. That's where she found him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder if the person found out it was Lady Gaga's dogs and was like, yeah, never mind. That's
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I understand that French bulldogs really have a high price, and that's one of the reasons why they went after them. Frenchies are cool dogs. They really are. I love the way they talk. They make the weirdest sound. I love watching French bulldog TikTok videos. They make me laugh every time. Sorry, it's one of my weird. Yeah. So anyway, but I don't know. I have a feeling they probably knew it was Lady Gaga's dogs, and they were counting on that fact, and it went awry. And I bet you they said, "Oh shit, we shot somebody," and they just dropped the dogs off because they wanted to get the heck out of Dodge. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I could be wrong, but
see that.
I think that's what happened. I think it was a deal gone bad, and they just was like, "Yeah, we're out of here. This is not good." Yeah, because they're getting. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, just I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. That's it. That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad Lady Gaga got her dogs back, but most importantly, I am glad that gentleman is okay.
Yeah, I hope she's like helping him with his medical bills or something.
I would hope she pays
Oh, yeah.
for his medical bills, like all of them. It would be no skin off of her back. She is one of the wealthiest celebrities around. She can afford it. Just saying. So. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here at the Simpleton Review. We truly appreciate you watching us. Check us out. We are live every Thursday night. We do entertainment news, Lemuel and I, on our Twitch channel. You can find that on Twitch at The Simpleton Review. That's our moniker everywhere we go. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that as well. We have a bunch of different tiers. You can support us for as little as $1 all the way up to $100, and each tier offers different things. So go check those out, and please support us. We would love you forever. You would right here. We'd love you right here. I'm telling you.
Depths of our heart.
That's
Depths
right.
of our heart.
Depths of our heart. Check us out, simpletonreview.com. You can find a link to our Patreon page there. You can also find a link to our merchandise and all the videos we do, and the podcast, and a link to our Twitch channel, and all things Simpleton, including the amazing reviews that Charlie and Lemuel and other guest hosts write for us. We've got a couple of new reviews on there from some indie films. Check those out. And tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Write your comments in there. Tell us what you think. Please subscribe to our channel. We love you all. You guys have a great week, and we will see you next time on Simpleton Review.